Alright guys, so today we are going to continue talking about transversal angles. This is part 2 of our segment, and today we're going to talk about solving problems using transversals. So before we get started, we're going to do a really quick review over all of the angle pairs that we talked about last time. They're all in this table. So we're going to start with our vertical angles. So vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. So we're looking at angles A and D, angles C and B, angles E and H, and F and G. Those are all vertical. And vertical angles are congruent, which here means that they are equal or that they have the same measure. All right, next we're going to look at our linear pairs. So linear pairs are also adjacent or next to each other. And linear pairs are supplementary. And all supplementary means is that they add up to 180 degrees. Alright, and here they are all listed out. So A and B are linear pairs, B and D are linear pairs, C and D are linear pairs, C and A are linear pairs, E and F and H, G and H, and G and E are all linear pairs. And they're all supplementary. Alright, so our next is corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are on the same side of the transversal. So let's look at A. It's on the left side of the transversal. One of them will be exterior and the other will be interior. So A and E are corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are congruent. Alright, next we're looking at same side interior angles. Also known as consecutive interior angles. So here we are on the same side of the transversal and inside of our parallel lines. So we have angles C and E, and angles D and F are same side interior, and same side interior angles are supplementary. Alright, next ones are our same side exterior or consecutive exterior angles. So again, we're on the same side of the transversal, except now we are on the outside of the two parallel lines. So A and G and B and H are same side exterior angles, and same side exterior angles are also supplementary. Alright, next we have our alternate interior angles. So alternate means opposite sides. So we're on opposite sides of our transversal and inside of our parallel lines. So we have angles C and F, and angles E and D are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. Alright, and our last pair is our alternate exterior angles, which are alternate again means opposite sides of the transversal, and now we're on the outside of those two parallel lines. So A and H and G and B are alternate exterior angles, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Alright, so now we're going to go through 4 different types of problems that we can solve using the information from these angle pairs. Alright, so we're going to start off really easy. We're just going to solve for the measure of an angle. So what we want to do here first is figure out the relationship between the two angles. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight those. So I have same side of the transversal. So we're looking at either same side exterior, same side interior, corresponding or linear pairs. So they can't be linear pairs because they're not next to each other. So we're going to eliminate that one. And then we have one inside and one outside, so that eliminates same side exterior and same side interior. So that means that these angles are corresponding. I'm going to abbreviate that as CORR. So now if I look at corresponding, I know that they are congruent. So I'm going to write congruent. And this means that they are equal to each other. So if this angle is 93, my missing angle is also 93 degrees. Alright, let's look at our second example. Same thing, I'm just going to highlight those two angles that they give us. And now we need to figure out the relationship. So we are on the inside of our parallel lines. and opposite sides of the transversal, which makes these alternate alternate interior angles. And if I look at my table, I see that alternate interior angles are also congruent. So we're going to do the same thing here. So if my given is 87, my missing angle is also going to be 87 degrees. Alright, let's box those and we're done. Alright, we're going to step it up a notch now and we're going to solve for x. Alright, first step is the same. I need to figure out the relationship between my two angles. So for this one, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to label this angle 1 and the second one angle 2, just so I can keep my math kind of organized. Alright, so inside of my parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal, make same side interior, and those are supplementary. Alright, so that means that my equation, when I set it up, angle 1 plus angle 2 is going to equal 180 degrees. Alright, so now I'm going to take the information that is given to me. So instead of angle 1, I'm going to write x plus 1 for 1. I'm going to bring down that plus sign. And instead of angle 2, I'm going to write 51 plus x, and all of this equals 180 degrees. Alright, so now I need to combine my like terms. So all of my x's I'm putting in yellow and I'm going to add those together. All of my numbers I'm putting in green. I'm going to add those together as well. So x plus x gives me 2x. And then 141 plus 51 gives me 192. And all of this equals, 180. Alright, now we have a two-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 192 from both sides. So I have 2x equals negative 12. Last step is to divide by 2. And I ran out of space, so I'm going to write it over here. 2x divided by 2 leaves me with x. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, and this is my answer. Alright, if you want to check your work, you can plug in this number back into your x's, and when you add those two values together, you should get 180 degrees. Alright, next example, we're going to do the same thing. Figure out what our relationship is first. So I'm on the outside of the parallel lines now. Both of them are on the outside and they're on opposite sides. So I have alternate exterior, which I know means that they are congruent. So this setup is going to be a little bit different than the one we just did. I'm still going to set up with angle 1 equals 14x plus 3, and then I have angle 2 equals 115. So this setup is going to be a little bit differently. So instead of adding them and setting them equal to 180, I'm going to set them equal to each other. So angle 1 equals angle 2. And then I'm going to plug in my information. So I have 14x plus 3 equals 115 degrees. And I have a two-step equation again. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And now that's going to cancel. I have 14x equals 112. Divide by 14 on both sides. X equals 112 divided by 14 is 8, and that is my answer. So if I want to check my work, I'm going to take this 8 and plug it into this, and I should get 115. Alright, third example. So now we're solving for the angle indicated again, except now we have to solve for x first. Alright, so it's in bold, you can't really see it, so I'm going to highlight it. We want the measure of this angle and the measure of this angle. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those on your exit ticket as well, so don't worry about not knowing which one you have to solve for. So, same thing, we have to figure out our relationship first. So here they are next to each other. So next to each other means adjacent, which means they are linear pairs. So I'm going to go LP, and linear pairs are supplementary. So we're going to set up the same way we did this problem right above it. So I'm going to label this as angle 1. Angle 1 equals x plus 85, and angle 2 equals x plus 105. So I am going to have angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees, and then I'm going to substitute my information. So instead of angle 1, I'm going to write x plus 85 plus, bring down that plus sign, instead of angle 2, I'm going to write x plus 105, and all of this equals, oops, wrong pen, equals 180 degrees. Alright, so now I'm going to combine my like terms, all my x's and all my numbers are going to get added together. So x plus x is going to give me 2x, 85 plus 105 is 190 equals 180, and I have a two-step equation again. So I'm going to subtract 190 from both sides, subtract 190 from both sides, so I have 2x equals negative 10, divided by 2, x equals negative 5. So I'm not quite done yet. Now I have to take this answer and plug in my value for x into the angle I want to solve for. So I have negative 5 instead of x plus 85 equals angle 1. So angle 1 is equal to 80 degrees. And that is my final answer. Alright, we are going to do the next example. Okay, let's do this in green. So I have inside of my parallel lines, opposite sides makes it alternate interior angles, which are congruent. So let's label angle 1 and angle 2. So we're going to set this up the same way as this problem right above it. So angle 1 equals angle 2. And then I'm going to plug in my information. So instead of writing angle 1, I'm going to write what angle 1 equals. So 6x plus 18 equals 7x plus 7. Alright, and now we are going to do some math. This is a little bit more than a two-step equation, but that is fine. I'm going to start by getting rid of my numbers, sorry. So I want them all on one side. So I'm going to start by subtracting 7 from both sides so that I don't get a negative. So now I have 6x plus 11 equals 7x. And now I want to get all my x's on the other side. So I'm going to subtract this 6x so that I don't end up with 0. So I have 11 equals 7 minus 6 is 1. We don't write 1x, we just write x. And there is the first part of our answer. Now we want to take this x and plug it into the angle that we're solving for. So instead of writing 7 times x, I'm going to write 7 times 11 plus 7, and then I'm going to solve that. So 7 times 11 is 77, plus 7 gives me 84. So angle 2 equals 84 degrees, and this is my answer. If you want to check your work, you can plug in the x here, and you should get the same answer for angle 1 as you did for angle 2. Alright, and our last example, we have this problem. We only have one angle, but we want to solve for all of the missing angles. And the problem tells us that line LM is parallel. This symbol here means parallel to line RS. So that means that we can apply the properties of all of the angles in our table. So what I want to do is start with my angles that I know are congruent. So let's start with our corresponding angles. So corresponding angles, I'm going to highlight those. These two are corresponding. And I'm going to go through and label these with letters. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So angle A equals, angle B equals, angle C equals, and angle D equals, angle E equals, we know what angle F is, angle G equals, and angle H equals. Alright, so angle F and angle D, wrong one. Angle F and angle B are corresponding. Corresponding angles, like we see in our table, are congruent. So that means that if angle F is 37 degrees, angle B is also 37 degrees. Alright, so now let's see what other relationships we can pull up. Let's see. Angle F and angle G are vertical angles. Vertical angles are also congruent. So angle G also equals 37 degrees. And then angle C and angle B are vertical. So angle C is also 37 degrees. Alright, we have half of our angles figured out. Alright, now let's look at another relationship. So angle F and angle D are same side interior angles, which means that they add up to 180. So that means that angle F plus angle D equal 180 degrees. So I know angle F is 37. I don't know what angle D is, but I can solve for it. I'm going to subtract 37. So 180 minus 37 gives me that angle D is 143 degrees. Alright, angle D and angle H are another set of corresponding angles, which means that they're also congruent, which means that angle H is also 143 degrees. And now we can solve for our last set of vertical angles. E and H are vertical, and A and D are vertical. So angle E is going to be 143 degrees, and angle A is going to be 143 degrees. So I started out with one angle, and because those two lines are parallel, I was able to solve for the rest of these angles. Alright, that's it for today. I will see you guys on Tuesday.